I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you go ahead and call the roll, please? Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
We shut the door just because they.
Ms. Rolladye?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzman?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I tried to shut you out, I'm sorry. I love you too, but I'm sorry.
Really?
Sorry, Mason, I tried. All right. I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes for the November 24th regular and December 9th special meeting minutes. So moved. Thank you, Mr. Rolladye. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Workman. Were there any corrections or questions? Hearing none, would you call the roll, please? Mr. Rolladye?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzman? Yes. Motion carried. All right, moving on to accommodations and communications. And Bill, I'll let you have the honor.
Okay, well, thank you. So I'm excited to be able to share some commendations today. We were blessed to have a really, really good football season this year. We're really, really excited, and we get an opportunity to kind of share our excitement about others who make All-Ohio recognition. And certainly football is, we want to go that extra distance there as well. We were blessed about a week ago. All of this information came out, and we have 4 individuals who have been given All-Ohio accolades. And so when I first heard that, I thought, well, got to invite them to a board meeting. We do others when we bring them to a board meeting. But again, as many of you know, there was a point in my life where football was everything, and coached for over 20 years. And there was something that I always did. It was kind of a cheap way to give out awards. I took old footballs, painted them gold, right, and put some information on there. So I called Justin the other day and I said, Justin, don't tell Coach. Go steal 4 footballs, make them the ugliest footballs there ever was, because I'm going to paint them gold anyway. And then we want to make sure we can pay a special tribute to our individuals today. So I guess first things being first, we can go in whatever order it is, but a year or so ago, we were blessed to have a new coach come over and take over the reins at Mount Vernon High School. Expectations have been adjusted and changed, and we couldn't be more the happier. And he was honored here most recently as the 2025 Division II Coach of the Year for the state of Ohio. And so we're incredibly proud of Coach Weber and all that he's done. Coach, you want to come up? And I'm going to give you back your football.
This is cool.
And what I'd like to do, if you wouldn't mind standing out here, because we're going to get everybody's picture.
Oh, yeah.
As they come up. I'm not going to get into like all kinds of stats and things like that. If you've read the newspaper, these guys are full of stats. But at the same time, I want to make sure we recognize them. So we did have a first-team All-Ohio offensive player, offensive lineman, Nolan White. Congratulations, Nolan. We also had an All-Ohioan on defense, and that will be Luke Mullins. Luke, come on up. Congratulations. And then finally, we had one other All-Ohioan for us. It was our quarterback, Mason Richards. Congratulations, Mason. Thank you. I'll tell you what, if you guys just kind of line up right here, we are televising this live, and so don't fumble the ball, whatever you do, unless you want to knock it out of someone's hands, Luke, and that's okay. But again, we're incredibly proud of all of you, and you have really elevated our program at Mount Vernon. We're so appreciative and thankful. So one more round of applause for our fellows. Maybe before you leave, and you can say whatever you want, I know we do have one set of parents, so you got to introduce your parents.
That is my mom, Carrie Richards, and my dad, Ryan Richards.
And I know the other parents would have come, but we probably didn't really give them much notice, so we get you off the hook. So maybe share with us, because all of you are seniors, right? So any plans for next year?
I plan to go to college for 4 years, study business.
Study business, awesome. Luke?
I plan to attend college and study finance.
Okay,
I plan to play football in college, and I'm undecided.
undecided. And coach, you're going to be right here with another chance. All right. Thank you. Did you want to say anything?
I just want to shake their hands and say congratulations to all of you. You've made us very proud. What an awesome season. And I know Weber's got more great things in store for next year for all of us. So congratulations to all of you. It's been an honor to watch you from here to young men, and you have done yourselves proud, your families proud, and our district proud. So thank you to all of you. Congratulations.
Can I say something real
You
quick?
betcha, absolutely.
The biggest thing I want to make sure the community knows and the kids know, the guys know, other sports know. I hate when the individual stuff is out there, my name. I just don't like it, right? It's very important to recognize that 2-8, 2-8, 0-10, all of this stuff, the state has noticed something has changed. Okay, so they had to put a name on it, right, to give it, but it's really a team thing. It's a team award. They say you have to win a lot of games to get recognized. No, you have to grow and you have to progress and you got to show that something's different. People say they watch our games and something's just a little different. So we have to continue to elevate that. But this to me is a team thing. So yeah, my name's on it. We'll get it in a trophy case in the school or something. Because I just don't, we don't do this whole big mecca to ourselves, right? It's about the team. So thank you for giving us an opportunity to put a product on the field that people are proud of. And then with that, these accolades come. So we were never focused on these accolades. We were focused on giving these boys like the best experience they could.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. If you have to get out because you've got studies to do, I understand.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you guys, thank you. You make me cry. Why do you make me cry? Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Bloody. That's great.
All right.
Moving on to reports and public participation. We do have one signed up for public participation. Andrea? It's you.
Your little thing isn't out there, Andrea.
Oh, no.
Are you okay?
Coach moved it. I moved him. Coach did.
Oh, the coach moved it. Oh, okay. I thought I had it out there.
You did.
Hi. Congratulations, football team. I guess I can report on the swim team. They've had 2 meets and 2 invitationals and had a lot of first swims and personal bests in there.
That's wonderful.
Yay.
Congratulations.
So I'm Andrea White. I'm a parent, resident, and supporter of public schools. And I am here tonight to voice my strong support for tonight's levy resolution. Ohio has a long history, more than 20 years, more than I've lived in Ohio, of underfunding public education, a problem first ruled unconstitutional by the Ohio Supreme Court in DeWolf versus State in '97. Despite repeated rulings, the state still does not provide sufficient funding to ensure a thorough and efficient system of schools. At the same time, billions of tax dollars in the past couple of years are being diverted to private school vouchers. These programs take significant amounts of money out of the traditional public school system, which educates the vast majority of Ohio students. While vouchers benefit some students, they reduce the resources available to districts like ours, making local levies essential to maintain programs, services, and opportunities for all children. For the Mount Vernon City Schools, this is very real. District officials have projected that we could lose roughly $4 million in state funding under the current budget process. This shortfall directly affects our classroom staff, programs, and the quality of education we can provide. Every dollar that leaves the district because of state funding decisions or voucher diversion is money that must be made up locally, and that's why this levy matters so much. Approving this levy resolution tonight is not just about funding. It's about investing in the future of our children, our community, and our schools. Strong funding allows districts to maintain and expand opportunities that support student engagement, health, and well-being. And on the health aspect, I would like to commend the health center that is up at the high school. It's been very convenient to us. Thank you. And again, I'd love to see a middle school swim team. Just 2 lanes per practice. It could be a club. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Andrea. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to board items for discussion, and there are no items at this time. And additions and deletions, there are no additions or deletions at this time, so we will move on to the superintendent's report.
I have just a couple really quick updates, some very timely. The first is we talked at our last board meeting about our cell phone policy. And I shared with the board kind of the difference between what we had passed as a community using our thought exchange, and then how things have kind of changed a little bit at the state level, even though the state told us several years ago, local control, develop your own policy. Well, all that to say, here's what I'm recommending. I shared this at our last board meeting. And when you see the elementary, middle school, and high school, all those things in green, again, were highlighted right within the ODE model guidelines. The yellow areas, I called them yellow just because they were a bit of a caution. Those are areas that, could be up for a little bit of interpretation. And then the one highlighted in red was clearly stated in their guidelines that they didn't want that included in there. All that to say, what you're looking to approve tonight, which is the second thing in your item for information, we're going to kind of stay the status quo for the green and the yellow. We felt like we heard in our exchange that parent communication was really vital. Now we're talking really more about one-way kind of communication. Like, I'm going to go to my locker between classes and, oh, mom's picking me up right after school. Not the kind of communication maybe where you go and you grab your phone out of your locker and you're carrying on a conversation in the hallway or something like that. So we're going to keep those elements within our current guidelines. We are going to have to change the at lunch. And I've talked with Corey at the high school. While we've had very little to no issues with it at lunch, the guidelines in the state legislature were pretty clear. And so while I don't mind playing a little bit in the gray areas, I have more of a hard time outside of those gray areas. So what you're going to see in the policy that's in your items for information is really exactly what we have been doing, with this clarification that will follow the model guidance. Obviously, at the middle school and elementary, there is no further really needed explanation to those students. They will continue to do as they've always done. Corey will, Mr. Coughlin will begin to have conversations about what it'll look like when we come back for break relative to the lunchtime kind of component, because we want to follow those guidelines. So I think it's the right balance and the right mix. I think it still follows the intent of the model policy. That transition word, some people could kind of play games with that. For us, it was just about more of a notification. In the guidelines, you'll also see where emergencies are defined. They can still call school. We can still make sure we take care of those things, but by and large, we'll continue where we have. Any questions on that piece there? Okay, good. This next one, the last one I have, is school closings and delays. This morning was a challenge, to say the least. Quite honestly, I was driving last night for about 60 to 75 minutes and told my brethren, my other superintendents, that I really felt like our city has done a fabulous job. The state routes and most of the county roads were in good shape. Sometimes township roads can be a real tricky challenge. That I felt like we were going to go on a delay just to give ourselves some more light. And it was pretty cold really early this morning. The challenge sometimes then comes in though when others around you start to make decisions contrary, and it puts us in kind of a box. Generally, we know that East Knox and Danville, they kind of have a different topography and those kind of things in that area. And so sometimes they will call off or call delays when we don't. But generally, it's not everybody around you. And so while everybody else called delays last night, all of a sudden to our south, Utica, Newark, Granville, Johnstown, and then everybody to our north, I kind of felt a little bit boxed in, and we called a snow day today. But just real quickly, this is how we make our decision. It's on our website for those who want to know. The bigger things that pop out there is wind chill. We've not really faced a wind chill of -10 or above, but that's a consideration that we take into account during pickup, drop off, and walk on times. Looking at future forecasts is certainly another. And so those are all things that kind of fit right in there. Again, it's always, people wonder who makes the decision. I get to make that decision ultimately. I have a lot of help. I have my county superintendents. I have my transportation director. We're out checking regularly, but ultimately the decision falls on me. We try to make that decision by 5:30, just because we have people starting to come to work. The most challenging time for me sometimes is between 5:30 and 7:30. If something comes in about 7 o'clock, we've already gotten our routes almost completed. We're already on our way. So will we delay the start of school is another one. Yes, we will do 2-hour delays, but I do not like to do 2-hour delays and then close if at all possible. So I think that's an important piece there. And then how will we notify? That was my frustration this morning. Even though I really wanted to stay in school, I sent an instant connect. The email went out, but the text did not. And I'm like, what's going on? I did it again, and it didn't go out. Then all of a sudden, principals started saying, hey, I hear school's canceled. I didn't get a text. And so frantically, we decided to do some alternative methods. I put it on our Facebook. We put it on our website. Principals started doing dojo messages and remind messages. And then, oh, by the way, I found out in our Instant Connect, I can do a voice call. Voice calls take longer because it actually has to connect to everybody. But I tried my first voice call this morning, and apparently it did work. I will say my wife was really patient with me this morning because I was a tad bit frustrated when the second text didn't go out. And she just quietly went in the other room and shut the door. But I appreciate all those calls she puts up with in the morning. We do it on our Instant Connect text and emails. Everybody got emails. We'll do our district Facebook, our webpage. I'd still send it to 3 TV stations and try to hit the radio stations every morning. But I will, all that to say, here we are. We've used 2 days already, and we're not even to our holiday break. Usually that first snow day is a little bit friendlier because we're not really into the season and we want people to slow down. But I will say that as we continue to move forward, we're probably going to face times where there's a lot of snow on our back roads. And I don't know if the snow will ever be removed from those back roads. And so there may be times when 80 to 85% of our district is in really good shape, but I have a few of our township roads that are tough to get to that may not be in the perfect shape. And we may find ourselves in times where our neighbors who have totally different topographies, they may be calling off or delaying, and you may find us going, you know what, I think we can go. If somebody can't get here because it's really that bad, then we would look to excuse them. But we can't just get to a point where every time we have snow-covered roads, we're calling off school. And so I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of that. Because generally speaking, if we're one of the few in school and everybody else is out, I get a lot of phone calls and emails. You may get some, and just wanted you to be prepared in the event that that would happen. But we do take this very seriously, and we want to do it the right way. Okay. This is another one, just real quickly. Will schools close if conditions worsen? We have rarely done early releases. Our challenge is with doing an early release is not knowing where kids would go home to. So that really becomes a heart tug string relative to, oh, it's getting worse. We think it could be getting worse. Will we release early? We really have to feel like something's coming in. And I would hope that we would have a sense of that before the day started if we didn't feel like we could get kids home safely. But once we start the process, it's hard to reverse the process. Okay? So anyway, those are my 2 items to share with you. Hopefully that works out. This is just for your communication. And I am suggesting, we'll have to approve it tonight, a board meeting date for January. Because we have to, by law, we have to have our first meeting before January 15th. I'm going to recommend here January 12th, but that will come later in the meeting. But those items for information for your approval, or not even for your approval, because those are just informational items. Under any questions on those quick little updates that I just shared?
I just want to comment that I appreciate us erring on the side of caution when it comes to our bus drivers and the children who may be waiting out in the cold. So I appreciate that. I know it's a tough decision. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So thank you.
Thank you. Items for board approval tonight, we have 3 of them. First is an item to have our organizational regular meeting date for January set as January 12th. Item 2 is a motion to approve the 26-27 school calendar. We shared that with you at our last board meeting. We had one date we were playing with. I met with MVEA and we have secured that date. We still had one day they needed to get in from their 186 count, and we wanted to keep our student days the same. So we added a professional development day in April, and we extended the school year one day to be a Thursday, Friday ending versus a Wednesday, Thursday ending. So that really is a difference. However, the calendar is there for you to take a look at. And then finally, it's a motion to approve the updated language that we're going to put in our student handbooks relative to the alignment with the Ohio Department guidelines for personal communication devices. I have had to be very careful about saying just cell phones because it's no longer just cell phones anymore. I don't know how many of you are wearing a smart watch, but smart watches, cell phones, we have to use this called personal communication devices. So anyway, those 3 items for your approval tonight.
Thank you for those explanations. I would entertain a motion for the board items as mentioned.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Regola-Dye. Were there any additional questions? Hearing none, would you call the roll?
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Regola-Dye?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mrs. Gibson?
Yes. Motion carried. Okay. Great. Moving on to item 2, and that's a motion to approve President Pro Tem for the January organizational meeting.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Ms.
Wait.
Dr. Bennett and Ms. Regola-Dye. Any other motions? Okay. Would you call the roll, please?
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Regola-Dye?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Abstain. Thank you.
And that will be, just for clarification, that'll be as a pro tem for the meeting in January. We will have president, vice president designations. Yeah.
Yes.
Once we get to January.
Right. Moving on to curriculum instruction. There are no items at this time. We will move forward to our fiscal services and Judy.
Only a couple things. The regular monthly report is showing there. You can take a look at the cash balance on the first page. The next page will show you the SMT report, which shows the amount that we've spent and collected up against the amount that we expected to. So we're looking at about 42% that we should have collected in revenue. And if you look total revenues, we've collected 42.4%. And then on the salaries and benefits, we're at 43 and 41. The capital outlay, again, is a little higher because we've spent some of the money out of the building budgets on capital instead of supplies this time, but it does balance itself out. So if you can scroll down just a little bit, Bill. So total expenditures were 41.89, so we're basically right about where we think we should be in total expenditures. The next page is our investments report. You can see we're not even halfway through the year yet. We're at 400,000. Again, those securities that we have our investments in come due at different times. So sometimes we'll have a month where we get not quite as much, and then another month if we have several of them that mature, we get all the money at once. So you'll see a little flexibility there, but that's about where we thought we would be. And the rest of that report, of course, is your balances. You can scroll down just a little bit, Bill. You can see our general fund balance was $10,000,007. A couple other ones you might be interested in. If you go down to the 024 fund, scroll on down a little bit. Looking under the first column, keep going down a little bit. Keep going. 024 up a little bit. There you go. So we've got about $4 million in our self-insurance fund. And we keep a good eye on that. We meet with our insurance company, our insurance committee, at least 2 or 3 times a year to make sure that we're okay with that. And then you can see the other 2 funds that we have, the termination benefits fund, which we put that money in last spring to pay for severance. We have not used any of that yet. And then the capital projects, that's money that we also deposited in that fund. And you might be interested sometime if you have lots of time and nothing else to do. Look down through all of these funds. Some of them we need to probably eliminate. Some of them can be merged together, some of the classes, but these are the ones that are in there now. So we have lots of clubs, lots of activities. Some of them have some money, some of them have $91.
Judy, would this be accurate? We put about $5 million in the capital improvement fund. Has it earned interest already to
5.3 million. But I don't know that we posted any interest to that. We just put it in June.
Okay.
So we have not posted.
I think it was 5.3.
Was it 5.3? Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah. And then we did have one change to the appropriations. I went ahead and just wrote the purpose of the reason in there. We got a Bureau of Workers' Comp grant for $40,000. So in order to spend it, we have to appropriate that. So that'll go over to the auditor's office, and then we can spend it. And it was for some additional cameras and some apparatus to the door, I think, at Columbia to make it safer. And that money just comes from Workers' Comp. They have several grants that we can apply for, so we've applied for that and gotten it. And no donations this time. I think we got them all last month. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right. I would entertain a motion for the fiscal services items as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Revoladai. Any additional questions? Okay, hearing none, would you call the roll?
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Volodai?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett? Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes. Motion carried. Moving on to business services and Ms. Revoladai.
Yes, I apologize. I didn't realize that the link wasn't on there, so I'll get it to you delayed. But just to briefly, the 2026 General Assembly will meet in the first half of the year. The House will reconvene committee work the first week of February. The Senate returns on January 27th. The governor vetoed the law, which would have allowed 14 and 15-year-olds to work until 9 p.m. during the school week, which most of us were thrilled that he had done that. There are 8 other bills before the governor at this time, and 6 of them relate to tax issues. But so far, as far as I know, he has not yet signed any of those unless he did that today and I wasn't aware of it. There are 6 new bills which were introduced which would dissolve, one of them would dissolve existing academic distress commissions. But the rest of them you can look at your leisure, and I will post that for you all this evening. facts in a flash. That's it. Thank you.
If I could just add, we were told in a webinar I was at to expect the governor to make his decision by the 20th. I
For the
that's-
20th.
I think that's the last date he has to make a decision, either to sign it or veto, and I think if he doesn't do anything, it becomes
It'll go into law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we've got a few days if he's gonna do anything different.
Okay, the second item here for items for information in the business section is one that I anticipate just some dialogue. I know we met last Tuesday in a special session to really talk about finances and facilities. To kind of echo what Andrea said, tonight really represents an exciting step forward for Mount Vernon City Schools. You know, we had last spring, we shared with the community a year's worth of work of the master facility planning team, and yet in the summer we decided just didn't feel like the right time to think about some sort of a November opportunity. And we wanted to wait till times were maybe a bit more ideal, till more communication came from the OFCC. And through our last couple meetings, we've made some decisions that are really, really important and they're exciting. We decided that we were going to move forward with a segmented master plan. In other words, we weren't going to take the whole plan, we're going to segment it. And that work really fell right in line with the 5 core drivers that our facility master planning committee came up with. That was improved school safety, improved operational efficiency, better meeting the needs of our diverse learners, being better equipped for new teaching practices and modern pedagogies, and then addressing aging and outdated infrastructures. Those drivers have always remained really important for us as we move forward. This first segment, while it doesn't include the whole thing, the first segment includes the building of 3 new elementary schools to replace our 5 elementary schools that the OFCC would not put any money towards, and a major renovation of Mount Vernon High School, including a new auditorium and expanded music spaces. And these are the things that we talked about last Tuesday. As part of our work, the board thoroughly weighed with David Conley. We looked at a tax policy over the past year, really identifying that the district primarily has used property tax as our primary funding revenue generator. And so we really took a good look at our property tax, traditional income tax, and an earned income tax structure. We evaluated all of those options. And for this segmented plan, we really talked at length at our last meeting about an earned income tax being the right generating revenue stream as we move forward. And David's here tonight to answer any additional questions we might have. But just to be really clear, and we'll have to really do a great job as we move forward through this, an earned income tax applies only to earned wages and self-employment income. It does not tax pensions, Social Security, investment income, or retirement distributions, right? It makes it more predictable for working families and lessens the burden on our retirees. And so that was a real big part of our conversation. So as we framed our decision last week, it really came down to, okay, that segmented plan is going to cost, and we determined what that cost was. But then we had to tie with it some sort of an earned income tax percentage. And we were really in the middle between a 1% and a 1.25%. And David Conley walked us through those things, and it felt like we had a pretty good understanding of where we were at when we did that. And then some other additional questions came up regarding what data we were using. Would that be the same data we would be using should this levy pass? What about increased costs of construction, as we are probably a good 2 years away if we pass a levy to even doing those things. And we got some more of those answers, and they were important enough answers that I not only was able to share them with you in a board update, but still felt like we had some questions that we need to feel really comfortable. This is a big, big decision. Not only is it an amazing decision to move our district forward, but how we can finance this decision is important. the one thing I think hopefully I've made really clear to the board is we don't ever want to overpromise and underdeliver. We want to make sure that what we set out to do, we can do. And we still found ourselves kind of in the middle of this kind of a unique perspective. And so I asked David if he would come today, and you may have some questions for David relative to this, but I think if I started off, Mr. Conley, we're only allowed to do earned income tax or income tax in general at certain percentages. They're 1/4%, right? So we are kind of in this 1% and 1.25%. 1% using the data we had wasn't quite enough. 1.25 was more than enough, and we didn't really have the ability to do anything in between. That's right. Is the fairest way to put that. But what we realized along the way from some great questioning afterwards was we can only use the data that we have. And the data that is out there that the state uses today is 2023 data. Realizing that we've already passed 24 and we're getting ready to pass 25, and this levy wouldn't be until 26. We wouldn't even begin collection until 27. So realizing there's some fluctuation in there, would any of that make a difference if we really thought about it? Because we didn't go into the weeds on that. And David said that he wasn't planning to do that. But if there is that opportunity to have a conversation about 1 or 1.25 to make sure we can do what we need to do, I wanted to make sure the board was really solid in their understanding or any questions. So David, maybe I'll ask you if you wouldn't mind speaking to that question about absolutely 2023 data, it's not enough to do what we want to do.
Should I?
Yep, you can jump up there.
Okay. Good evening. Good to see you all. This is the first time I've been in this facility. Oh. And from what I've seen so far, the 2 hallways, it's very nice. I look forward to seeing the rest of it today. So for those of you that are watching on television, I guess, my name is David Conley. I'm the president of Rock Mill Financial. My firm specializes in providing advice and guidance around tax matters for governments around the state of Ohio. That's what I do every day for 100+ governments. So we spent a lot of time last week talking about your choices relative to taxes in this particular project and which particular rate to use. At that point, I chose to sort of not necessarily go into predicting what might be possible with the income tax rates and how much money can come from those income tax rates simply because prediction. We do not have real numbers for 2024 or 2025 or what would be 26 or 27 by the time the tax would be in place if we chose to go with a different tax. We only have what the state provided us for 2023. You can look back historically and know that your income, the incomes within the school district have grown on average about 5% per year. There's no assurance that those incomes have grown 5% per year since 2023, which is the data that we had from the state. But if we did make some assumption that there was growth in the income between that then and by the time this tax takes effect, if you used a 1% earned income tax, the amount that would be generated by the 1% would equal roughly what we had estimated the payment on the financing to be for the project that we described. So in other words, 1%, if we make an assumption that incomes would grow on average 3%, actually the number is actually 2%. I reread it today. If you had 2% growth from 2023 to 2027, it would produce roughly the 5.8 million, is it 5 or, let me check my number, 6.6 yeah, per year that we would need to support the financing. But there are no guarantees of that. And if you remember the 2 choices we had, the 1.25 provided additional, so back when we were working on the tax policy, you remember I said that our tax system is imperfect, especially the income tax system. Mm-hmm. Because there's, it would be nice to be like a city where we could do 1/10 of a percentage. But because of that 1/4% increment requirement, 1%, if you use 23 data, wasn't enough, and 1.25% was too much. And so we would have more money left over, which we could use for operating the school district or providing for maintenance, things of that nature. If we did opt for a 1%, assuming 2% growth, that would be at least enough to fund the facility cost that was described at the last meeting, but it would not probably leave significant amount of money left over for other purposes. And that would be one of the downsides to the 1% versus what the 1 1/4 created, where you would have some excess potentially as you go down the road. So just as you're evaluating those two choices, I thought I'd lay that out there for food for thought. But I have I've got most of my data still here. Anything that you guys want to ask or discuss, or before you make a final decision? You have the resolution. Both, I think you have 2 resolutions tonight. One that would equate to 1%, the other that would equate to 1 1/4%.
So your assumption of a 2% increase, was that year over year? So
Year over
2%
year.
increase, because it's my understanding that in May of this year, we'll have the 2024 data.
That is correct. May of 26.
May of this coming year.
26. So
which would be
usually that
26.
data is pushed out from the state in May of
Okay.
each year. So we would have 20, which is the time, when you're on the ballot.
Well, we're on the ballot, right.
Which does us no good at that point. And the challenge is that we really do not have any data to make a solid prediction on, other than what you've experienced from the last 30 years through 2023.
Questions from the board?
When you said the 1% was sufficient, was it very close to the amount, or was there a
There's a
little bit over?
it was over a little bit. So around 114 million is about what it would support, assuming a 5.5% financing rate. So keep in mind, this is all, we have interest rates that would have an impact on the borrowing costs that would, could become a factor. I've been using 5.5% for our projections. If the rate were 7%, then we would not be able to borrow as much, because it causes the payment to be higher on the financing, and therefore you wouldn't have as much capability to make the payment. So you have the exposure to interest rates. Yeah, you have exposure to inflation. So, you'll recall the Lexington scenario where we had a project cost for a building, and then the state, we didn't get the elementaries done. By the time the state came back, the elementaries were more expensive than what was originally predicted, so they had to come back. The school had to come back with a slightly higher amount from their local contribution. But I believe the state has said that they've built ample inflation here. But those are our risk factors. The third risk factor is that income in the school district, the people that live in the community, didn't track with the previous growth rates between 2023 and 2027. So let's just say, for whatever strange reason, income's flattened from 23 through 27. A 1% income tax rate would only bring in the lower number, and we'd find ourselves potentially short for doing the project as a single project all at once. And what I mean by that is, this is a continuing tax runs beyond a 30-year period. So you could potentially structure your financing where part of it gets the bulk of the work done for what the 1% could fund in 2027, 2028, wait 4 or 5 years, and do another financing that would extend out beyond the first financing so that you could pick up the balance. But it would cause you to stretch the project out over time.
But we wouldn't have to come back,
To the
wouldn't need to
vote.
come back for another,
No, you wouldn't have to come back to the voters.
because we're still thinking in 2030, if nothing changes legislatively, our 10-year emergency operating levy, which has now been changed, it's gonna be changed, we need to approve that again. As if it were a renewal, but we're not allowed to call it a renewal anymore. And we're thankful that we've been able to make it even stretch all the way to 2030. But as we're well aware, we just had a piggyback tax reduction that cost the district about $500,000. And who knows what the legislature's, how that's all going to pan out. So that's kind of our, I know we felt like we walked away from Tuesday with a certain set of information. we've got some new information. I think it comes down to which one we feel the most comfortable with and that our community will approve. So there has to be voter approval, right? And, you know, everybody can have their own opinion on whether it's easier to pass one or the other. But that's part of the whole that's part of the whole levy committee and making all of that happen. So 2% is what you had kind of shared. Would you be surprised if we didn't have a 2% growth in income throughout the county?
I would, yeah. I mean,
Throughout Mount Vernon City School District.
based on your history, I would be surprised if you did not see a 2% average growth rate between 2003 and 2027. I've heard of no significant layoffs. One nice thing about is when I advise on income taxes, one of the things that I look at is a concentration of employment. So if the vast majority of your residents are employed at an auto manufacturer, for example, or at least in a particular sector that's subject to cyclical economic downturns, then there's a lot more sensitivity to the incomes that are earned in the community, and therefore the income tax can be more volatile. When you look at your large employers and where many of your residents are employed, there's a real heavy lean toward the service sector, education, healthcare, county, city, and school district governments all tend to be more recession resistant. So, you know, since you have people that a lot of your residents that are employed in those sectors, economic swings up and down don't typically translate into layoffs like they do in other sectors. So you've got some insulation in that particular area. So, and we've seen better than reasonable growth in income in the community overall. In addition, your population numbers are ticking up, which is also a positive as well. So you've got those factors coming in. Of course, past performance does not
guarantee.
Right. But, your trend line, the only trend line that's concerning in this community is just the aging difference between. So you do have younger people coming in, but the older people is still not necessarily keeping pace with the age at which people who are 45 and over are growing in the community. So you've got, which is back to this tax concept of, should we be looking at a property tax versus some type of an earned income tax that's more considered of people that are on retirement income, Social Security, and other forms of fixed income. And that's how we ended up at the earned income tax, because it is more considered of them and shifts the burden to people that are working full-time. But all the other indicators would suggest that you have a pretty reliable base on which to use an income tax.
I have a question. At our last meeting, we had a representative, I believe, from PNC.
Right, yeah.
In attendance. You mentioned about interest rates, that you're using 5.5%.
Yeah.
You mentioned that it could go the other way to 7%, but I know interest rates are trying to get pulled back a bit.
Right.
I believe the representative at PNC was using a different rate.
It was lower. It was
like 4.75 or something.
That's the current market. So right now,
Okay.
if we were borrowing money, we would be below 5%.
So that would actually play to our advantage.
Right. Yes. So
This decision.
the opposite is true when it comes to financing facilities using an income tax. It's a revenue-driven financing versus a property tax, which is a dollar amount driven financing. So a property tax is just a fixed dollar. You put it on the ballot, the voters give you that dollar amount. And regardless of interest rates, that's the tax you collect to pay it back. With an income tax, voters are giving you an annual revenue. And
Right.
you use that revenue to borrow as much as you can possibly borrow. Interest rates then come into effect. If the interest rates go down to 4%, what we were estimating as the ability to borrow could be significantly greater because your interest cost is less. So I use 5.5 just to have some buffer in there from where we are. We're talking about financing in 2027, 2028.
Right, yeah.
And, it's hard to say for sure where interest rates will be then. As long as you know that's a risk factor that we know. But historically, it's been a while since we've seen 6%, 7% interest rates. It's not that it isn't possible, but if we're there and the rates are higher, we just work with it. You just get done what we can get done, and then work on things. You do have some additional benefits going for you that other schools don't. Not that I'm putting an earmark on any of your reserves, but the district does have some reserves that can help if necessary with some of the project costs. And the project is vast enough where there are parts of it that you could delay if you needed to that wouldn't necessarily impact the most significant parts of the project.
You know, from the school district financial standpoint, the easiest thing to do is to advocate for the 1 1/4. I mean, it gives us financial flexibility. It removes some of these other risks.
It does.
And I get that. But I find myself also trying to balance that against our citizens, our supporters. And, you know, on the one hand, it may not seem like there's a big difference between 1 and 1 1/4. But, you know, on a percentage basis, it's a 25% difference between the two. And given the fact that this community has never done an earned income tax like this, so we've got a whole education thing to contend with. I do wonder about the public perception of 1 versus 1 1/4, and what do they feel that they can tolerate? So I find myself trying to find a way to make the 1% work. And so I have appreciated you running the numbers. Thank you for that. I've heard secondhand from an expert in the field about public opinion or the communications network that works with communities on levies. And the secondhand feedback that I heard was that there is a perceived difference between 1 versus 1 1/4. And, you know, just this past November, there were a variety of levies in Central Ohio, and 2 of them were focused on earned income. Both passed. One was 0.75 and the other was 1. So I want to be careful too for us as we make this decision that we've got to balance the school's finances against our public, that we need their support. So I find myself if we can make the 1% work, I'm at the 1%.
I think it's important from an educational history, and we'll have to do a great job of this. This is on the Ohio adjusted gross income. Sometimes we all think about, you know, what are federal, because that's the one we tend to focus on the most. The Ohio adjusted gross income is what we're using to determine this additional cost.
Right, and, you know, with it will require people that receive the segment of income that is exempted to do an additional worksheet to subtract out pensions, capital gains, retirement. So it's that less, is the Ohio adjusted gross income less the additional exemptions as well. So but for a large percentage of your residents, the tax would be very minimal, if at all, in terms of an earned income tax. So I did check the census data. The new numbers are out for 2023 on that statement, and you're still roughly 33 to 35% of your residents, your total population, are receiving Social Security and/or some type of retirement income.
At one point, you had shared how many school districts here in Ohio are actually doing some type of income tax.
Well, I can tell you how many have.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in one of our previous slides.
I want to say it's 211, I think.
That's the total number, but over a third of so the earned income tax is a relatively new tax under Ohio law, and about a third of them, the districts that do have an income tax are charging for the earned income tax. The majority of the new levies that are being placed on the ballot are earned income tax for primarily one reason only, and that is Ohio is aging. And more school districts are trying to position that tax so that the older residents aren't paying as much to the schools as younger residents. So it's back to our tax policy. the concept is really philosophically shifting the cost of the schools to people most likely to use those facilities and away from others.
So what we're contemplating is not out of the norm.
Not at all. You know, this, what is out of the norm for you is that you've gone through a planning process to get here. A lot of places just sort of wing it, to be honest with you, without really understanding what they're, you know, everything they've done. So we've evaluated, because there are districts that have actually put income taxes in place that aren't necessarily in the best interest of the community as a whole, and there's a lot of risk associated with it to those districts. For you all, we've gone through every possible analysis to know this is a very, very good choice for your district, for this community. A very good choice, yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Conley? Any other thoughts from the board? I know I so respect Judy and the work she's done since I've been here. And what I probably appreciate the most is the conservative nature in which she's always approached our finances. And I would probably be remiss if I didn't say that I think she feels more comfortable. I'll let her speak for herself, but the surety of a 1.25.
Mostly for you're right, the surety, just for looking down into the future. However, Bill and I spoke today a little bit, and he talked a little bit about his conversation with David, and if the earned income tax would pass with as a continuing basis, that changes everything.
Sure does.
Because that means, so if we did happen to run short because of a recession or whatever, it doesn't forestall doing the project.
Right.
Just pushes it out a little bit, because the money's gonna keep coming in.
Yeah. In cases where, and I've run into that, where, you know, if that happens, you basically get to the core part of the project that's fundable, and then the things that are slightly more ancillary,
Right.
push those out, you know, a few years, because the tax runs indefinitely.
Yes.
You're able to collect tax that would be used, you know, that after the 30-year financing for the first one, you can start counting the dollars for year 31, 32. You wouldn't have to wait 32 years, but you could
Sure.
Still
leverage
push
the future revenue from the tax to deal with those projects. You just have to spread it out a little bit.
So is that an option that we have a continuing? I thought the legislature removed that option.
For the income tax, you can still have a continuing.
Yes.
And that's the way our resolution
And that's the way it's
stands as today. It's a continuing earned income tax resolution.
Well, that's what we talked about. It'd be in the next resolution, not this one, but the next.
Correct, yep.
We'd have to make that decision after we get the information back from the state, but that would be, for me, that would make the difference to say, I think probably would be worth it to go with the 1%. Because of, you know.
Flexibility.
Yeah, the flexibility and the fact that we do know that 2024, 2025's incomes are going to be higher. I mean, I just think everybody knows that. We don't know how much and so forth, but I think that would make me a lot more comfortable with that. More would be better, obviously, but we do have to sell it. And
There's work to do.
I have different points of view about people's decisions to pass a levy based on the difference between 1% and 1.24, only because I've been through it. But I know people who probably wouldn't. I know people who, if they're going to support the levy, they're going to say, either one's fine. People who aren't going to support the levy are going to go, I don't care if it's 0, I'm not voting for it, you know? So, but I think,
It's the people in the middle that were shooting.
and it is going to be a big job to do the explanation and the sale, regardless of what number. It's just a big job with a short period of time. But I do think that the 1% probably would be fine. I think those tax, that income information, when we get it in May, will probably make us all smile.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I think that brings up another point. Some might say, well, why don't you just wait till May? Well, the problem is we've got this big timing issue where the OFCC is at a point they're willing to accept our project and accept the whole, accept this whole segmented plan. And they're going to look to do that on January 15th, at which point the clock kind of starts where we have, 3 cycles to pass a levy. So if we say no at this point and we wait till then we get back in line with the OFCC, hoping that our turn is kind of next. And that was somewhat of the challenge with Lexington a little bit, was they had to kind of get back in the group or get back in the line. So we can't wait until then. As a matter of fact, the timing, as we shared last Tuesday, is, a board resolution to take the first step tonight. Then we send that on to the state. They send us back some information. We take the next step, and then there's a final step. So there's a couple steps that have to be done in this really short period of time for us to even have anything on the ballot in May. And so we're not, I don't want people who are watching online to think we're just hurrying through this, because we're not. We spent a lot of time on this, but there are some deadlines, and that's why we're kind of where we're at.
And Bill, can you explain so that people understand too, if we do not accept this funding and at this time, and we go to the end of the line, is there a guarantee that our funding is going to be there?
Well, there's no guarantee, and for the Ohio Facility Construction Commission, unlike a biennial budget that determines our district funding, they have what's called a capital budget, and that's done this summer. And so the capital budget, they may come out and say, you know what, the way things are right now, we're not going to give the Ohio Facility Construction Commission the same amount of money we've always given them in the past. So they may not have the ability to fund new projects. If we said no today, we would have to wait until we found out if there's even money there. Right now, they have kind of set aside for us our plan, and the money's already encumbered for us to take our chance at it. The part about having 3 tries, let's just say we wanted to wait to make sure. The clock is still ticking. So then we would only have November and next May to put up a levy, where generally we would have 3 times, which would be, in this case, May, November, and the following May.
So if we go ahead with this 1% and it's continuing, that would leave, when we're gone, that would leave our district in a better position moving forward in another 30 years or whatever.
Well, the primary function, correct me if I'm wrong, David, the primary function is to pay off the loan.
Right.
Yeah.
So for 30 years, we'll be paying a loan with it.
Right.
Right? There may be a little excess along the way, but it's pretty tight. We're going to be paying for this loan. Now, on year 31 or year 32, things could look a little bit differently. Is that right?
That's right. So the revenue, assuming nothing changes and the community continues to grow, you'll still have that income tax revenue once the financing
has been
paid off. Because it couldn't, again, if it isn't enough revenue coming in up front, you might have 2 or 3 financings spread out in order to get all the projects done. But at some point, the financings are paid off, and then the income tax is remaining. Your choice at that point is to use that to operate the school districts in year 30 to whenever, or you have the power to just turn off the income tax. The board can vote to stop the collection of the income tax at any point that you choose to do so.
Or you may need a new high school.
Yeah.
Or a middle
Well,
school.
you're talking 30 years down. Chances are 30 years, 35 years down the road.
I know.
You'll potentially need to do
Kids can deal with it.
something else with the facilities, as you get down the road.
Yeah.
So as we get, unless you don't have any other questions, as we kind of work our way through this business portion of the agenda, we'll make a recommendation for these first 3 items. By law, we have to have a separate resolution of necessity, and we have to determine the 1% or the 1.25. That'll come second with a separate vote. Does everybody feel like they're in a place where they're comfortable with the next spot? Okay, somebody will have to make a motion once we get to that, because right now, This item number 4, which will take place after this first vote, is a very general motion to approve a resolution declaring of necessity. The resolution there does not have the 1% equivalent or the 1.25% equivalent. I will need you to state that in the motion.
We left it blank, I think.
You did not have the dollar amount?
We left it out because we didn't know. So we're gonna, the motion tonight will include that and we'll put it in.
Okay, you have the dollar amount for the 1%? Okay. Yeah.
From your
From your calculation.
Okay,
right.
great.
You didn't memorize it? You're not working with other
You do
districts.
not want me to do that off the top of my head, after all.
Okay, I'm gonna quiz
A little bit
you.
of a
Starts with a
panic.
5.
That was great.
I just don't.
All right, so to get the business portion started here, have recommended for items approval tonight is an OT contract for Seventh-day Adventists, hearing impaired contract with North Central Ohio, and Rock Mill General Consulting Agreement. Those 3 items for your approval tonight.
I would entertain a motion then for the first 3 items under business services as
So moved.
presented. Thank you, Mr. Workman. Thank you, Dr. Bennett. Any additional questions? Thank you for that explanation. Okay. Would you call the roll?
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett? Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mrs. Golodai?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes. Okay, motion carried. All right, we'll move on to item 4, motion to approve the resolution declaring necessity for the annual additional amount for school district purposes. I would entertain a motion, and that motion would need to include a percentage that we are looking for the earned income tax.
A dollar amount, not a percentage.
I'm sorry, dollar amount.
If you mention the dollar amount, Judy can.
I'll make the motion if you give me the info.
5,977,339. 5,977,339.
3. So don't need to say anything about the percentage.
That's right, isn't it?
That is correct, yeah, the state, we send them that number, they calculate the percentage and send it back. And then we will accept the percentage.
And the gentleman that we spoke with, Ken Fry,
Yes.
he sent this, which came from the state, and it matches exactly what David had, so we.
Unless, Jody, you want to include this number in your motion.
She didn't move.
No.
That's right, you're not making the
I'm
motion.
not making the motion.
You're right.
I'm putting it on the floor,
Got it.
but I'm not making the motion.
So what would I read? Do I read this motion?
You can just recommend that we approve resolution 33.25 with the amount of $5 million.
I recommend the approval of resolution 33-25 with the amount of $5,977,339.
A second.
Thank you, Ms. Regola-Dye. Any additional questions?
Just so that you're aware, that number will represent 1%. So we'll send that number on, they'll send us back and say 1%, and then we'll move forward from there, right?
That's right.
Okay, good, excellent.
Any additional questions?
Seems a strange way to do it.
Welcome to politics.
I would like to say I'm so proud of this board and our superintendent and our treasurer and the help that we've received from Mr. Conley. I'm so excited about this, and I think it's a legacy, just as this building is a legacy for Mount Vernon City Schools. I think that this will be a real wonderful thing for public education in Knox County. So I'm very proud.
And this is not a decision we're making solely on information we received tonight. We have had other work sessions that we have vetted through this with David and other entities. So this has been a lot of homework that we've been doing to make this decision tonight. So hopefully people understand that as well. So thank you. Thank you very much. Right. Would you call the roll?
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Golodai?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you. That's an exciting first step.
It is.
First step, and trust me, we got a lot of work to do as we go into step 2, and the ballot language and all that stuff's easy stuff at this point. It's putting the right people in place to really kind of help us educate. And, you know, I know we're going to have folks who are going to want to step up and do their very best. And, you know, our constituency gets to tell us whether we're following the right path or not. Right. Okay.
Moving on to student services, and there's no items for information or board approval this evening. So we'll move on to personnel, certificated licensed staff.
Okay, under this section, I have one item for information, a salary change notice. Section B is a number of items recommended for board approval tonight. We have a number of more substitute teachers who are always welcome. Believe it or not, it feels like we just started the winter season and we're approving supplementals for spring already. We have one resignation and one rescinded contract, and then a couple pupil activity contracts for laypersons. Those items for your approval tonight.
I would entertain a motion for the certificated staff as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Vergolodai, and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Bennett. Any questions? Just thank you to all those that are willing to take on those supplemental contracts. Those are very important things for our children to participate in, so it's great to have staff willing to do that. Would you call the roll?
Ms. Rolladai?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on to classified staff.
A couple items for information. One is a job transfer. The other is a salary change notice. Section B in this section, we have all employment kind of issues. 1-year contract, a 2- and 3-year contract sequence, and then a 6- and 7-year contract sequence. We do have a couple of substitutes, again, who we always welcome. So those 4 items for your board approval.
Great. I would entertain a motion for the classified staff as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Vergolodai, and thank you, Mr. Workman. Any corrections or comments? Hearing none, would you call the roll?
Ms. Rolladai?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes. Motion carried. Okay. We are moving on into board comments. And Dr. Miller, would you like to start tonight?
Well, I'd like to thank our music department for all the extra work that they've spent in presenting the programs, and that gives our students a chance to showcase their talents, and we have some very talented students, so that's exciting. I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah, and also to please drive safely and stay healthy and dress our kiddos warmly during this cold weather.
Ms. Vergolodai.
Thank you. I also would like to congratulate our music department from high school down to kindergartners, all of the teachers who work behind the scenes to assist our music departments, and they give up their extra time, sometimes beyond the school day, just like other teachers do, to prepare these kids. And the high school, middle school concert Monday night, last Monday, was a perfect example. We should be so proud of our music department here in Mount Vernon City Schools. I'd like to thank the community in advance for all that they do to keep our schools healthy and successful. And we have had examples of that tonight with the gentlemen who were here from our football team. And that just doesn't affect the sports on the field. It's creating an atmosphere of success and teamwork and moving forward in their jobs in the future, where they say, yes, I can do this and I need to do this. So congratulations to all of them, and I wish everybody a very happy and safe new year.
Okay.
Thank you.
I too would like to congratulate the young men that we had here for the football team. And it was nice to hear Coach Weber talk about the emphasis on team, but teams have to have leaders. And I really want to recognize him and what he's brought to this community, to our program. It takes leadership. It doesn't happen by accident. So thank you, Coach Weber. Also I want to thank our superintendent. I wrote down cell phone policy, but changed it to personal communication devices. I felt like, if we were in full compliance with what the guidance was saying, I felt like we were creating a problem where none existed. So I'm glad that we found some ways to stay in some gray areas, and it's okay. We're human. We live in gray areas. So thank you for that direction. I appreciate that. Also want to thank this group and our community members who were involved in this process, and David and others. I really view tonight's vote about the resolution in the school districts as really pivotal for this community. It takes a lot to get to that point, and to ask, we haven't asked for additional funds from the community in years. But I think it's a pivotal moment. Whether it gets through or not, it's another story. But it says something about the leadership here, not just around this table, but in the community. So thank you to all of those that were involved in that. And finally, again, everybody, please stay safe over the holidays. You're in Ohio. A lot of bad things can happen with weather, so just stay safe, enjoy it, and let's start the new year right.
You might have just taken everything that I had to say.
It's great going last,
Sorry.
isn't it?
No.
All right, Mr. Workman?
Well, I would also like to congratulate the football team, and like Jeff said, Coach Weber, I mean, they all had individual footballs, but he was talking about team. And I truly believe a couple years ago, we made a very good decision in hiring him, in the change of culture. It's not only football, it goes to the school, it goes to other sports. I know he's a big proponent of having his players at different sporting events. And so, again, I think that all builds the culture. And, for 2 years to turn around a program like that, I think there's still a lot of good things we can do moving forward. Quite an accomplishment. So great job with that. I also like to thank the board and all their work with this, the tax policy with Mr. Conley, Bill and Judy. We talked about, and you mentioned it, Jody, that we didn't make the decision tonight based on this. There has been a lot of hours, a lot of meeting, a lot of very good discussion that we've all had. And I know that probably a lot of boards don't have the same that we have. I don't know that some of those meetings would have went as well, but I think with the preparation that we went through with the community, getting to that point, and then establishing the tax policy and going through that, I learned a lot, I know that, but I really truly enjoyed working with everybody going through that. And I agree, what we did tonight is very, very good from the standpoint that we all know that we need to make some changes with facilities, and I think that's going to start us on the right path. So again, thank you all for that process and the time that you spent doing that. And also, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and be safe.
Now what is left to say?
Then there was Jody.
I don't know. I just echoing what Tim said, a special thanks to the committee, the facilities committee, that put us in this position to have this discussion as they vetted out the need, as Bill alluded to earlier, for us to look deeper into this. So hats off and kudos to that committee. Do not go away, committee, because
Still need you.
we still need you, and we're going to need your help as we get this information out to our community and get them to understand the need and why we looked at the situation in terms of the earned income tax that we did. So thank you for all of the behind-the-scenes work, Judy, Bill, David, and our attorney and the people from PNC. It was a lot of work, and it was greatly appreciated so that we could get to this point tonight. I also, as Coach Weber said, it's about team. It's not always individual. However, we did have 2 individuals that I think we'd be remiss if we did not shout out to Alex and Ash, who were at the Iron Man. All right, wrestling tournament over the weekend. Very prestigious, invitation only. And we had 2 athletes there, both finished on the podium, which is amazing. So kudos to them as well. Coach Weber has done an incredible job building young men through the program. And it's just not, as he said, it's the team, but it's more than just the team to him, it's the program. And you can see how he builds that program from the ground, the elementary, the middle, into the high school. And that's what's going to make that program successful, is that he's vested in every level.
Right.
And that's exciting. I know basketball's off to a great season. They've been able to attend a couple games there, so that's been exciting. Swimming's going on. We have lots of great things, but most importantly, check on each other as we're off for the holidays, because some of these kids don't have someone to report to or to check in with, and they're missing that link. So please check in on all of our friends and your neighbors. Make sure they're safe, they're warm, and they're healthy over the holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, and we have exciting things laying ahead for Mount Vernon City Schools. So thank you very much. Bill, Judy, anything additional?
The only thing I might add is I'll be sending out some information tomorrow, kind of to our facility planning committee, letting them know what the board's decision tonight to take that next step. You know, they've been a big part of it, and I want them to be the first to hear. We'll probably send some sort of a press release out. Music programs have been going wonderfully, you know, and we still have 3 more nights. I will say that I'm so thankful for the flexibility of maintenance and the work that they're doing with our, you know, sidewalks and all of that stuff. The flexibility, I know we had to cancel East's program tonight, and we were able to find another spot tomorrow night, and transportation will bring those kiddos up for practice tomorrow. So, and we were actually having that same conversation last Thursday night as I was at the band concert with Mrs. Springer from Pleasant Street. You know, we were looking at plan A, B, and C, should school be canceled. And so it really is nice to have folks who are very flexible and willing to make things happen. So hopefully we can have a nice weather cruise into the holidays, and we'll have 3 more nights of concerts, and they're wonderful events. So again, happy holidays and New Year's to everyone.
Anybody else have anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. I'll second.
Thank you.
Mrs. Rolladai?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mrs. Katzman?
Yes. Motion, meeting adjourned, 6:24.
Where did